good. Maybe I will get things going. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. My name is Jason Camilio. I'm from the Office of Global Initiatives at Berklee College of Music, and it's really great to have all of you here. I'm joined this afternoon by my co-host Ray Soul, who's also on the Global Initiatives team, and we've got some fantastic guests here for this edition of Global Connections. Global Connections is a series of webinars that we're delivering with our Berklee Global Academic Partners. These are partner institutions around the world that are connected with Berklee, doing all kinds of very cool engagements. And also, these are institutions that have credit transfer agreements with Berklee. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about the program at Berklee. We're going to be talking about the program at our partner, Selkirk College, who has a fantastic program, great success over the years. And for those of you that are not familiar with these partnerships, what the partnership allows is for students to begin their studies at a fantastic program like Selkirk, working on their instrument, their voice, their contemporary music studies, and then moving forward with completing their degree through the credit transfer, the academic partnership with Berklee. And my colleagues that are here with me today are going to dig into that deep. We're going to talk to a few students in the program, as well as different faculty members and area leaders from Selkirk. And we've got our colleague, Britt Holbert, from the Office of Admissions. She's an assistant director there, and she's going to be able to talk about the admissions process to Berklee. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, the program coordinator and string instructor at Selkirk College, and he's going to do the duty of introducing all of his colleagues at Selkirk College. This is Don McDonald. Don, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Yeah, happy to be aboard. This is the first time we've done this too, and it's so great to have, looks like faces from all over the globe, which is just awesome. Today on faculty, we've got representatives from the voice department, from our guitar department, from our technology department, and so you'll be hearing a little bits from us over the next hour. Not sure how long this meeting will be exactly, but I thought maybe I'd start this off just by giving people a quick introduction into what this part of the world looks like. I quickly did just a Google of our Nelson area, and so if that's okay, do I have the ability to do a quick share? Okay, here we go. This is so hopefully you're seeing this. This is our Selkirk music program. We started up a new website in the last little bit, which has a little bit more of the Berklee information on it. So this is selkirk.ca program music, and a little further exploration takes you to this area here, where you can apply, and here's where we also have some of our updated bios. We've got a couple of new faculty in the last couple of years. Very happy to have aboard the fantastic Mr. Mike Rudd, who's here today, and Dave Restivo, keyboard, both fantastic musicians and awesome instructors. For those who don't know their way around Nelson, this is where we are. Doesn't look like that currently. We got a bit of snow last night, so it's super pretty. But Nelson is a fantastic place to come and visit, to go to school. Our program is one that's situated in Nelson, but many of the other Selkirk programs are situated in other of the areas or cities in the region. And so this is the Kootenay Lake where we live. Up on the left-hand side, if you can see my mouse, is where our particular facility is. And it's just a beautiful place to come and visit and go to school. So this is a brief tour for you of the Nelson area. Maybe I'll just show you quickly. No, I won't. That's enough of that for now. So I think as this progresses, we'll move into some discussions with faculty, but maybe I'll give over to Brittany for a little bit, and we'll talk to you folks in a little while here.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Britt Holbert. I'm one of the assistant directors in admissions. And so my primary job and function is to assist with the process of admission through whether it's partner programs or just, first applicant to the college, and sometimes into the conservatory. We are merged with Boston Conservatory as well. So really assisting in counseling the potential pathways and options to get to Berklee, which I'd love to talk to you about today. So I'm going to share my screen for a little bit of a presentation where I'm going to breeze through some of the preliminary slides here just to really get to the bread and butter of what we're talking about today. So a backstory of Berklee. Opening in 1945, we have a long-standing history in jazz music. And you can kind of see through our progression in time, we've really augmented on not just jazz, but introducing technology that are in terms of electronic digital instrument, Berklee Online, merging with Boston Conservatory like we talked about, and now recently New York City, our New York City campus where most of our graduate programs are. Same thing with Valencia, Spain, where a lot of our graduate programs exist, and study abroad options as well. So when we talk about Berklee, we talk about a network, a global outreach, because that's really what we're about and what our community consists of. So to kind of talk through some of these things, as you see here, these are pathways in and of themselves. Berklee Online, that's a way for students to take some courses and then transfer into Berklee. Valencia, Spain, same thing. Boston Conservatory at Berklee, that is kind of our partner school in that they have more of a classical basis in music, and they have all music performance majors, but they also have theater and dance, so musical theater, contemporary theater, and dance as well. And a lot of those programs have influenced some of the offerings that we now allow students to take at Berklee. And as we move forward, I think I have a slide about, oh no, because I wanted to keep going along with the EDI function, because that is like the newest thing that Berklee's offering these days, starting in summer 2018, offering it slightly in our summer programs to now a full-blown principal instrument that you can declare. And we'll talk a little bit about principal instruments and how that plays into your curriculum at Berklee. But this gives you an idea of really how Berklee sets the pace in terms of technology and how we utilize it and let it influence some of our programs, especially our production programs, electronic production design, music production engineering, contemporary writing and production, and even in songwriting as well. So there's specific requirements for the audition with this specific instrument, but we'll cover that as well. And when we talk about the setting the pace, Berklee is on top of the game as far as what we offer with facilities on campus, performing venues, and the amount and number of ensembles that you can take part in. I think the conservatory has definitely allowed us to offer more. So it's probably closer to 500 plus ensembles at this point, and 1,600 student concerts per year. So it's hard for me to kind of keep up on this presentation because we keep adding more and more. So really anything that you want to achieve at Berklee, it's possible, no matter the genre, no matter the interest. And if there's something that we don't have, you can start a club or organization of your own. Student-run enterprises are pretty common on campus, starting your own lab or ensemble. Those are just the opportunities that we want you to take to really express your creativity, get involved, and collaborate with other students. Another popular way to be at Berklee is living on campus. So we don't require it by any means, but it's a great way to be immersed in the community. It's not something that is really like first come, first serve. We have to have a deliberate amount of students on campus, and we do plan to open hybrid this January. And if all goes well, we do plan to, I think, continuously open, maybe not in the full modality of on campus, but offering the ability to live on campus. So I know that we're coming up with some different scenarios in which students would have doubles and singles, and this is all related to COVID, right? So we would talk about Berklee in our living and learning communities and for first year students as well. So we have 4 dorms on campus. The 2 that you see here, I think are in 160, which is one of our largest dorms on campus. And the most popular for students that are first coming to Berklee. And what I mean by first year students is not just freshmen that are right out of high school, but also transfer students, because as a first year student, you could be either. That would be 150 and 160 Massachusetts Avenue, and they're really not far from some of the main facilities on campus. So one is just above our 2-story dining hall, and the other is just above our main media center, our library, and a lot of the practice facilities. There, in fact, are practice facilities in all of the buildings. So it's a great way to have access to practicing, to using a piano or a keyboard if you don't have that in your room. And when we talk about the community at Berklee, the diversity, the different innovative collaboration that we offer, it really lends to the programs that we have. We have 12 different majors that align with, we would say, career paths into the music industry. So everything from production to music education, music therapy and performance, and even that major down in the right-hand corner, professional music. That is kind of like a build your own major. So it's really kind of cool because you can choose up to 5 different disciplines and build your own career path for yourself. And even when we get more specific and granular to a pathway that might be something you look towards in your future goals, we have a ton of minors that are super specific and niche depending on what your interest is. So some common combinations would be maybe film scoring with a minor in video game scoring. That's super popular. Or songwriting with a minor in musical theater writing. That's another popular one. And some very specific production compensating type of minors as well. So as we look at these things, there's so many possibilities. And when you start off at Berklee, you actually are undeclared. And when you come in, you'll do a core music curriculum. Now, that's where the partnership kind of plays in, because in a way, you'll be taking a lot of those courses. And I definitely want to share those courses with you a little bit later on in the presentation. I just wanted to put this in here just to show you kind of the career paths and internships that are common with our students, industries that we've seen students go into, obviously big names here. That's pretty common. We have hubs all over the world. Big ones in the US would be LA, New York City, Miami is another, Nashville, and globally. So this is just giving you an idea of where students might take an internship or get started in their career. We have a career center on campus that assists with anything from resume writing to cover letter writing and helps you find an internship or a job on campus or off campus. So they propel you into your future career with Berklee and kind of overlapping in your curriculum. Digging into the pathways, I think it's really important to notice all the different ways, and we talked about that, but the one that we're going to talk about today is with Selkirk College, because that is the most distinguished partnership and most comprehensive partnerships that Berklee offers is through the pathway programs. So it's a great way to save money in tuition because you get started in your curriculum when you're at Selkirk through the pathway, and then if accepted to Berklee, you're prepared to kind of move forward in your curriculum as if you've already been with Berklee. That's the great thing about a partnership. And I myself have done a partner program before, not with Berklee, but I understand the value of going to a school that offers a similar curriculum at a cheaper cost, at a more convenient location to you, and then transferring into the school of your choice after to complete. It's really common these days, in fact, to use Berklee kind of as the end game versus straight out the gate and using alternative pathways. So we're just ahead of that by offering those pathways with these partner schools. So this is a great one that is mostly close to all of you, if not a part of your college experience now. So these are just some of the why the pathway is an important step towards getting to Berklee. But then some of the requirements take part. A grade of B or higher, so like a 3.0 to a 4.0 GPA is recommended. And you have to take a certain amount of courses, which I'm going to share my screen as well to show you those courses. But before completing the application process, you have to be on this pathway. And I'm going to actually switch over. I don't know if I should stop and then switch. I'll try that. Yeah, so these are some of the courses that you take. I just make it a bit larger. When you're in the partner program and how they align with the Berklee curriculum. So you'll see some of the harmony classes, arranging, ear training, and this is all what freshman level students take at Berklee as well. So when we talk about being undeclared, when you come in, you take a lot of these fundamental core music curriculum elements. You'll also be taking liberal arts as well as your lessons and ensembles. So we've outlined here exactly what you would take at Selkirk and how that aligns with the Berklee curriculum. So that way, once you're accepted to Berklee, you can just pick up where you left off. And I recommend taking a look at this website just maybe taking a screenshot of this hyperlink at the top, because this is a great go-to page for all the requirements, the guidebook, the Berklee Partner Guidebook, and all the classes that you'll take. So when you're going to think about applying to Berklee and how that might kind of make in the transition towards being at Berklee and through the application process, we do offer a provided list of courses. You have an assigned academic advisor to help you through the Berklee track, and then information for opportunities to connect with Berklee faculty online or in person, mostly online these days. So that person is designated to you, as well as someone in admissions, to assist with the onboarding process and the enrollment process. So the next step, once you've decided you want to kind of be a part of this, is to apply to Berklee and be accepted. So the application process is through our online platform, which is now berklee.edu/apply. This hyperlink is no longer active. I think it redirects though. So if you go to this, that's how you can start the application. You'll complete an audition and interview, and then you'll submit supplemental materials. The audition is kind of a four-pronged approach. It's a prepared piece of your choosing, so something that really demonstrates your ability in the best light. It can be a cover piece, it can be an original piece, and it's something on your principal instrument, so that instrument that you plan to declare all 4 years and take your lessons and ensembles. You'll also be asked to do some fundamental areas of assessment, so improvisation, sight reading, which we give you the examples ahead of time, and ear training, which is broken down into a melodic matching or call and response and a rhythmic call and response. Usually we just clap rhythms and we ask you to clap those back to us. I recommend, if you do identify with more of like the EDI principal instrument, take a look at our website. It lists everything that we want you to display in the audition, down to live looping and then demonstration of utilizing your controllers, not just pressing play on something that you've pre-recorded. So I recommend checking out the website for that. After your audition, you go into an interview, and this is just like a 10 to 15 minute conversation with someone in admissions. This is our way to really get to know you. It's a great opportunity to talk about what you've accomplished in the partner program. This is also when we would ask you questions about your future goals and why you want to come to Berklee, maybe a major you might want to pursue, and what you've been working on to get yourself aligned with those future goals in that way. Because we're essay optional, again, this is just a conversation. We would rather get to know you in this way versus reading you on a piece of paper. And we have sample questions online. I can tell you right now, they are just mainly in 4 areas: why you want to come to Berklee, major goals and what you might declare as a major, how you've prepared, and what you feel you can contribute to the Berklee community. But feel free to also go to the website and check out some of the questions. And when we talk about supplemental materials, so after the audition and interview, we'll want to see your transcript of grades. This is where we'll assess if you're maintaining that B average in the Selkirk Partner Program. We are ACT, SAT optional, and then as an English speaking institution, you would not have to submit TOEFL or IELTS, which is the English proficiency. You can also check out other requirements at berklee.edu /apply. And if you are a composer, you can also submit original works for consideration for scholarship. And I think that's one of the biggest conversations that I have these days, is affording a Berklee education. When you're on the pathway program, that already is a cost-saving path, but there are also some other ways that you can help with affording the cost. We do consider every student that auditions for some sort of award, and that's our merit-based scholarship. So that is for international or domestic students, and roughly 40% of students will receive some sort of scholarship. The average scholarship covering roughly 45% of tuition. So in another way to meet some of the extra cost there is by having a 4-year financial plan, maybe seeing if there are any government grants that you can get to bring into Berklee. And I always recommend that international students apply with the CSS profile. This is a College Board application that allows us to consider you for need-based grants as well. Here are some other scholarships that we recommend. We talked a little bit about the composition scholarship. It's no longer called writing composition. It's simply in the application, you could submit your own original works for consideration of additional merit. The presidential scholarship is the highest scholarship that we offer. It's selected, or the students are rather selected by the presidential cabinet. And so the board of admissions will submit certain students through the application process towards the president's cabinet for this consideration. Next, below that would be full tuition and fees. So the presidential covers a full tuition, fees, and room and board. The next would be a full tuition scholarship. There's also a list of outside scholarships on our website. So simply going to berklee.edu, using the search bar to type in outside scholarships, there is a list of outside scholarships for international and domestic students. So a great way to kind of piecemeal some scholarships together, anywhere from 500 to 2,000 to 5,000 US dollars. And I always wanted to pop in the application deadlines here. November 1st obviously has passed, but our next deadline would be January 15th. So if you're already on the partner program, this would be the next deadline. Otherwise, we do keep the same deadlines year after year. So if you're applying to come in the fall after completing a partner program, then we would have you apply by either November 1st or January 15th. The November 1st timeline, early action, there's really no huge benefit, no additional scholarship consideration or anything. It just simply allows you to know earlier than the traditional timeline of January 15th. Usually you would audition November or December with a decision in January, and with regular action, you would apply for January 15th for an audition January or February, and then you would know of your decision in March. So just a little bit earlier that you would know of a financial plan and a decision. We also have the other start terms of spring and summer, so those are options as well. So the next steps really, if you're not already on the partner program, would be to declare that, but then also just starting your application when you're ready and after you've completed some of the coursework, register for your audition, and then visit Berklee to kind of explore and see what might be a good major for you or what Berklee's all about and if that would fit into your future goals. And of course, you can always reach out to admissions. You have a counselor designated to your application that can assist with any questions. And we have specialized enrollment officers that assist with the pathway program transfer credit as well. So that's pretty much all for my presentation, but I'm happy to take questions, and I definitely want to leave time to talk with students and whatever else Jason has in mind for us today.
Well, thank you, Britt. This is fantastic. A ton of information there. And I'd like to do is just turn this back over to Dawn and the team from Selkirk. I think it would be good to share a little more detail about your program and how it links in to what Britt has shared. And if there are, I think you might have invited a couple of your students or graduates as well that could talk a little bit about their experience in your program and enrolling at Berklee as well. That would be a great opportunity to do that now. And then we can turn it over and open up for questions for all of our guests.
Sure, I'll start off and speak to that a little bit, and maybe I'll actually take us back to the website in a minute too, and we can just look at a couple of the potential pathways that you can take through the program. As in every music school, students generally go into the first year, and that's where we're all learning this language together. And for us, it's a shared pedagogy, it's a shared style of learning in the Berklee tradition. And many of our instructors, when this school first started, came from Berklee. So we're taking a lot of their textbooks, a lot of the methods that come from Berklee. And so after the 2 years that you would study here, those that choose to go on to Berklee, it's a very seamless transition. One of the things that you find coming to the program in Nelson, and of course there are many students out there that are currently here today that are from Nelson or studying with us. Yeah, I'll just talk a little bit about what you would find when you arrive here. Nelson's a small city of about 20,000 people, spread out over a fairly wide area. It's a really sports-minded community and a very artistic-minded community. And I was born here, one of the very few that came back and been teaching here for about 20 years. And one of the things about Nelson is it has more restaurants per capita than I think any city in North America, except for San Francisco. I think it's second to San Francisco. And as such, there's a ton of places to perform. and we've got a lot of nightclubs and bars and stuff. And so for students that are coming here, one of the things that we really, really believe in is just getting out there and playing as much as you possibly can. And so usually the end of our first semester is a big party at this nightclub where all the bands are playing, and it's just a tremendous experience to get everybody. We have students from all over the world coming to play, and we have these great moments usually at the end of each semester where we're seeing um, just first years, second years, and third years all collaborating in these ensemble experiences. I've been teaching composition here since I arrived, and I thought I would just go down this track of looking at some of the things on our website and talking about our majors. And of course, for our second year students and our third year students, this is not new information, but maybe you have something you feel like chiming in on. I'm going to speak specifically to composition, and we'll have some others that will speak to things like a performance and songwriting and so forth. So I'm going to do a little share screen, and I'll take us to our website again. So, yeah, take one page backwards. Here we go. Okay, so everybody comes here for a core year, and in order to get into the school, of course, we've got the audition, and these auditions are generally, this year, have been done all online, but we do appreciate seeing people offline, and we'll be having auditions hopefully sometime in the spring when all this COVID madness is over, but at the moment it's been all online. Our core year consists of courses such as arranging, harmony, ear training. We are a music and technology program, so everybody's learning how to use Pro Tools. It's a big part of our program. And what you learn in your technology classes kind of dovetails into what we do in our second year with many of our composition style courses, so that in a film scoring program, for example, you're going to be relying on what you did in first year with Pro Tools and augmenting that with various techniques that myself and John Tucker would be going over. In our harmony classes and songwriting classes, we, again, really, really rely on our ability to record. So you might create a lead sheet for a project in 1 week, and then the following week you might do a lead sheet with a Pro Tools recording. But I'm going to dig right into this. This is our composition in second year. And we have 3 main courses that are part of this composition major. One is composition that I teach. We have film scoring and songwriting. And these, I think, are the core of that major. The composition course, which is one that I teach, is one that goes over teaching from a variety of perspectives. If you're a bass player, you might start writing with a bass line. If you're a singer, maybe you start writing with a melody first. If you're a drummer, maybe you start writing with drums first. And it's taking all these ideas and borrowing from different composers throughout history in order that everybody has these tools to choose from and build their own compositions. We're not ever looking at any one specific style, though as a contemporary music school, we're kind of delving into pop, rock, and jazz, but I have a lot of people that are doing classical stuff. One thing that's super important for our majors is that people that are in the first year program have to pass all of the courses in the first year in order to get into these specific majors. Some of them, these courses you see, are available as electives, but to graduate, you must pass the entire first year. So that's a little bit about the composition major. I'm going to give over to Melody, who can talk briefly about performance.
And I'm hoping I'm not muted anymore. It's good? Okay. Welcome, everybody. So I'll do a little screen share of the website as well. And here we're first looking at the performance major. There are many of the same core courses that a lot of the other majors do for second year. Private lesson, ensemble, ear training, harmony, courses like those. But the core courses for the performance major are improvisation, recital / showcase preparation, and ensemble. And there are other electives that you're able to take to support these main courses. So the focus here is really on a performing musician. And we'll now look at the songwriting major. This is one of the more recent majors that the college created, and this was to support people who not only are performers, but also who perform their own songs. So the focus is here for largely vocalists, and the core courses for the songwriting major are recital showcase preparation in common with the performance major, songwriting as well, and ensemble. Again, there are other electives, one of which is Dawn's comp course. You could take that, which I highly recommend, or you could take film scoring or advanced MIDI, etc. And I can say that a lot of times people ask, what is the difference between composition and songwriting? And for me, the difference is that songwriting is for people who want to write vocal music specifically, whereas comp is more open. And also the songwriting major has the performance component built in with the recital prep class. So that's about it. But I'm open to questions if you have any, and the information is there on the website as well. Okay?
Thanks, Melody.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we'll head over to John Tucker now, who can talk a bit about production.
I will share my screen. I think if I find where. One moment here. Okay, so this is the second year production major curriculum. I presume everyone can see this. Again, many of the same core courses are taken and many overlaps in terms of, at least in terms of the electives. The production major is the highest credit load, the most work, the most fun, I would like to think. And students will take their lesson and forum. They'll perform in ensembles, as will the rest of the students. Ear training 3 in the first semester, ear training 4 in the second. And then we have some specific courses that are core to the production program. One of them is recording techniques, which is learning the art of recording, studio recording, and Stephen Parrish takes that class. Developing a really solid fundamental understanding of how recordings are made and how studios are used to record. And then we have a mix down and editing, which is more of a post-production class that I take, where we learn about putting mixes together and making things sound like the record. We also have a live sound course. That one has been modified this year because we are not able to do the same type of live sound production as we would when COVID was not around. And a session management course, how to handle sessions, how to balance them. The production students are also required to take advanced MIDI applications. And as mentioned a couple of times, all of our courses dovetail together. I think Dawn used that expression, and it's a really good one. They all dovetail together to provide a really solid outcome at the end of that experience. The production majors also are eligible to take an elective in their second year, which could be songwriting, it could be harmony, it could be film scoring, or it could be an instrumental lab. And we work hard and we have fun. We cover acoustic recording and mixing. We cover hybrid mix of electronic, and we also cover completely electronic production techniques in our program. And yeah, I'm happy to take questions at the end of this, and I'm sure Stephen as well will be able to field some.
Thanks, John. It's great. I think that kind of wraps up our segment. There's one other thing I just thought I would bring up, and that's that we are a very small program. We have usually between 70 to 100 students in the program. And we really get to know you well. That's the beauty of this program, I think. As I walk down the hall at the end of a 2-year experience with a student, I feel like I really know these people, and that my door is always open. I'm going to see people coming and going all the time. And I think for me, it's just been a treat teaching here, because I've got these relationships that start for the 2 years that they're at Selkirk, and they continue for far, far, far beyond. I'm, continually either hiring people or getting jobs from the people that graduated from this program. And the kind of small and intimate nature of this program, I think, is a great one for people coming straight out of high school, or for your first experience in a music program. It just means a lot, I think, to get this kind of hands-on um, care from faculty that really get to know you well.
That's great to hear, because this is, I think, a real key to a lot of musicians who are looking to find their way forward, and it's connecting with programs like this that has such incredible artists as educators in the program, and a dense curriculum, like a heavyweight curriculum for 2 or 3 years. And in preparation for Berklee, this could be really ideal for those people that are looking to make a step. Maybe, Don, what we could do is let's just open it up to questions. We've got a pretty healthy group of guests here today. There's around 50 people. But if you'd like to ask a question, you could drop it in the chat. And this could be a question for Dawn, for Britt, for any of the instructors that are here. Actually, Dawn, as you're scrolling through the list, are any of your students that have gone on to Berklee in this group?
I don't think so. Not here today.
Not here today. See. That's cool, but we're here. And a few of us have gone to Berklee, so we can sort of be the de facto alumni to answer questions. But you could also feel free to raise your hand, unmute, turn on your camera, and ask any questions you want about music. If you want to talk about music, that's great. But if you have specific questions for Britt about admissions at Berklee, for Don and the team at Selkirk about the program there, now's a great opportunity to jump in and share your thoughts and ask those questions. So who'd like to jump in? Anybody?
I have a question, if that's all right.
Go ahead, Jordan, please.
So for the students who are doing the audition online for Selkirk, can we do the audition now, or do you have to do it during the spring when in-person auditions would usually take place?
You can do it now, Jordan. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had quite a number of auditions already, earlier than we normally have. I think there's a lot of keenness out there for people to get get moving on with their education. And so we've seen, that either some people have deferred from the last, in April of last year, thought that, well, maybe they'll take the year off. And so we know they'll be here in September of next year, and that we're getting a lot of interest early on. It's absolutely to your advantage to send something as soon as you can.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Ooh, great question. Other questions? Anybody else? Feel free. You can type your question in the chat, or you can feel free to unmute and just share your thoughts with us here. I've got actually a really quick question while we're waiting for somebody to kind of chime in. For Selkirk, what are the performance opportunities as a student? What are the different kinds of ensembles or live shows that you have set, throughout the year to showcase what, the work that students are doing?
Yeah, it's unbelievably varied. And, this year we've gone heavy into Pro Tools. We did an unbelievable week with our incredible first years, where they were willing to jump into maybe 3 or 4 days of intense Pro Tools teaching and lessons and so forth. And so we've been recording and creating some really awesome tunes. We had a listening session about 3 weeks ago, and it was, some of these tunes, after working for 3 weeks, are like album ready. It was incredible. The in-person thing, of course, is completely different. And normally we have, for our 80 or so students, we have up to maybe 12 ensembles. and it runs the gamut from everything. We have an improv choir run by Laura Landsberg, which is just fantastic, kind of built around the idea of Bobby McFerrin's circle songs. We have funk ensembles, rock ensembles, jazz ensembles, songwriting ensembles. I do usually an original kind of composition ensemble where people bring ideas and we workshop them. And we have recording ensembles, often run by Stephen Parrish. We used to have a film scoring ensemble where we're reading stuff in the studio. We have a fantastic studio, and we make a lot of use of that for both ensemble recordings and for when the engineers and producers are needing material to work on, they'll bring in one of our ensembles when they want to kind of invest in a certain style. So it just runs the gamut of all kinds of stuff. And yeah, it's a ton of fun.
That sounds just right up our alley at Berklee. It's, the performance opportunities are varied and really designed to prepare you for what you're going to be doing, as a professional musician. You want that kind of experience, and in a program of that size, you'll get a lot of attention. You get a lot of opportunities to play, I'm sure.
Absolutely, yeah. And some of them too, can really get in depth into things like improvisation. I was lucky enough to hang out with Mike Rudd last year. We had a gypsy jazz ensemble, so we had two instructors in the same group, and just having somebody with his knowledge talking to students about improv, just so much fun. So we had violin and a bunch of guitars, and yeah. So
Cool.
so there's discussions about improv, and of course, with faculty members that are all playing and professional musicians, they're in touch with what's happening on the scene, and they know exactly, what the types of repertoire that's out there. And so if you're in a band with a vocalist, you're going to get unbelievable amounts of their insights on vocals, but they've also been rehearsing their whole lives with bands, so they know exactly what the drummer and bass player and guitar and keys should be doing in those ensembles. So
Yeah, and that's key. You want to show up prepared.
yeah.
We got a great question here from Kate. She says a mature student, and she's just working as a performer and songwriter, and has some questions about is Berklee and Selkirk a place for somebody like her? And maybe Dawn, we can start, or Melody, we can start with you, and then because you're doing the songwriting, and then Britt, if you could talk a little bit about just the student body at Berklee, and students coming in with from different points in time in their careers. So Melody.
Yeah. So I would say the majority of our students are between 80, or sorry, 80. That's hilarious. 18, between 18 and 22-ish, but we do have some mature students, but that's balanced out by immature teachers. So it's, yeah, we have had, and we have people in the program right now who are mature. You're welcomed to come.
Cool. Britt, how about you?
Yeah, I would say that, in the industry that we're in as music programs and music schools, it's often one that I think at 17 or 18 is influenced by your parents sometimes to say, oh, you'll never have a career in just music. And so I think early on, some people just follow the pathway of what their parents expect them to do. And later on realize this is what I've always wanted to do. And it might be at 28, it might be at 38, 58. We've had students apply that have been in their 60s. It's definitely an environment where music has no age limit. We have students from very young age with our Berklee City Music program, from like elementary to high school. Most traditionally, college is going to be a majority of 17 to 24. But then we also have graduate programs. We have students going for a second bachelor's and starting in their career a little bit later after maybe pursuing an opportunity in music or otherwise. So whether they've started their career in something completely unrelated and they're maybe making a pivot towards music, or if they jumped on an opportunity early on, child prodigy, whatnot, and then want to get some formal training. It's really everything. And we see them all the time. I just talked to a student this morning that was like, I'm a little worried because I worry that I'm going to be alone, like I know some of you expressed in the chat here. And that's just not the case. I'll 100% confirm that that's a conversation I have quite frequently.
That's a great thing to hear. I know that, you know, I've worked with students at Berklee that we've had, you know, younger musicians come in, um, folks who are advanced, that are younger, you know, that are 15, 16 years old. And I've been in, even in ensembles or in classes with students who are much, much older, that just, this was the time, this is what they wanted to do. And one of the really interesting things about the partnership between Selkirk and Berklee is that we'd love to have you on our campus in Boston to go to Selkirk and then come to Berklee in Boston, but you could also go to Berklee online. So if you're somebody that's in the area and you're kind of like, you've got things figured out, your life is set up, Selkirk is there, you can enjoy and take part in that program and benefit from that program. You could actually transfer your credits into the Berklee online bachelor's degrees, and finish your degree there. So, you know, the idea of starting with that physical, you know, brick and mortar program and then going to the online program is something to consider. And I can tell you, as somebody that studied at Berklee and the Boston Conservatory and benefited from the amazing teaching and opportunities to play music and write music, and then realizing that I needed to go back later on and get more training to do what John Tucker does with his program, which is technology. It's the idea of being able to use technology to be creative, to be collaborative. And I ended up going back and doing the Pro Tools certificate program through Berklee Online, after having played and toured and done all of that kind of work, just because nowadays you just have to have that skill. You need to know, you know, what all those tools are and the resources are in order to be creative and be collaborative with your fellow musicians. Let's see. Got a question here from Mekdi. I hope I pronounced that correctly. My question is, does Selkirk accept electronic digital instruments yet? Are you doing the EDI at Selkirk?
We are not yet, but one of the things about our program is that we're small and we are able to take a right or left turn really quickly. So if you're interested in coming to the school on an instrument like that, we'd love to talk to you, because we're able to kind of, as I said, shift really quickly and make that a part of our curriculum if it's something that you're interested in doing. Definitely, I know it's a growing part of the industry and something we probably need to address more. So if you'd like, please reach out to us. Will be maybe, I think in the chat at some point, be useful to maybe throw in a couple of emails. So if you have more specific questions, all of our names are there on the website. So feel free to reach out, but don't write us off in that department, because it's definitely something we would entertain.
Could I address Curtis's question?
Yeah, please jump in.
His question got buried in the chat a little bit. Curtis Lee asked, not sure how to raise my hand. Question here, I'm looking to do performance major, and I know you mentioned the restaurant density is high in Nelson. Just wondering how COVID-19 has affected performing, and if the course will be altered at all, more online focused or changed altogether. So I can say that as a performing musician, as all of my colleagues are here in the faculty, our performance opportunities have greatly diminished since March. However, we're still doing the odd performance, and I know that some of our students just performed on the weekend in town, so there is still performing happening. It's just not the same as it was before. And as far as how it will be, how we will be affected in the future, we're planning for a fall face-to-face presentation, but that remains to be seen. I hope that answered the question for you.
Cool. Very good. Let's see. We've got another one here. This is flying in fast. CG has got a question about, wants to talk a little bit about the master's programs in Valencia. Do you have complete undergraduate programs at Berklee before you can apply for master's programs? Britt, do you want to jump in there for us, please?
Yeah, I wrote it out as well. So we have master's programs in Valencia, now in New York City, and we do have one in Boston, which is the Berklee Contemporary performance, master's in contemporary performance with a global jazz emphasis. So it's really small. And so you do not have to have a bachelor's degree with Berklee specifically, but you do have to have or hold a bachelor's degree. And depending on the master's program that you're pursuing, it might have different requirements. So it might require that you have a bachelor of music. It might require that you at the very least have a BA or a BFA, so a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Fine Arts, with an emphasis in music or even a minor in music. So depending on what the equivalent would be, I think they're pretty flexible, knowing that in most cases, all master's programs will require either our portfolio or an audition. So that's really what we're focusing on. And I'm happy to talk about if you're looking for master's programs specifically and what we offer. I would check out the website because there are some overlaps depending on the location that you want to be in. So Berklee Valencia, being in Spain, has a lot of similar programs that Berklee Online offers, as well as what we offer in New York City. So New York City is our newest, opening just a few months ago, but they do have similar requirements. And I'm happy to talk about global jazz as well. I particularly am the liaison for that program, which is super tailored towards jazz performers and composers. And they accept roughly 20 to 30 students, but it's a fully funded program for students. So full tuition is granted for students accepted to that program. And so the requirements because of that are a little bit more specific to holding a bachelor's in music, but it does not have to be with Berklee.
Cool. This is excellent. And also, though it's not covered here, I can speak. I was actually a graduate from the graduate program at the Boston Conservatory at Berklee. So in addition to Valencia and Boston and New York and the graduate programs online, you also have the graduate programs at the conservatory. So, in an ideal world, if I could do it all over again, I would probably start by doing a summer program at Berklee or at one of the partner schools like Selkirk, going to a partner school, getting to Boston, doing the undergraduate degree, going on and getting the master's degree. The amount of content experience, the networking and connections you would make would be mind-blowing. So as you dig into both the Selkirk site and the Berklee website and you're looking at the options there, it's going to probably create many more questions for you, but that's why we're here to help you out. Stephen, Shen's got a question. The difference between contemporary writing and production and music production and engineering. Britt, do you want to take that one or do you want me to grab it? You got it?
Let's tag team it. So I know that music production engineering is like your traditional audio engineering, mixing, mastering, working live sound in the studio with artists, bands. It's what you think of when you think of audio production. And that's one of the most popular majors that we offer. That, along with electronic production design, you do have to apply within the department after the first year. So they want to see a B average. And coming in as a Selkirk student, we would look at your transfer credits to be able to identify if you would be eligible coming in. With contemporary writing and production, that mixes a variety of arranging, composing, production, and also just environmental changes. So whether it's a different ensemble type, a different genre, you're really equipped with that triple threat, so to speak, of production and writing. Do you want to kind of vibe off of that, Jason?
No, that's actually a beautiful way to describe both of those. It's really interesting. I think, being the production engineering major, you get access to the studios. It's part of your experiences. You're going to have practice time in those studios, and the kinds of projects that you're going to be doing are really designed for. There's kind of two threads of learning. One is to be a producer, to oversee the entire project, and you can focus on that in your major and the ultimate projects that you deliver before you graduate. And then there's the engineering side, which obviously is that hands on the board and knowing signal flow and the systems and everything, all the way up through mastering and the technical side of life. CWP, contemporary writing and production, it's all the bells and whistles. You'll become a Swiss Army knife of writing and production. And both of them, though, if you look at like the graduates that have come from Berklee, I'm just like recently looking at a lot of the winners of the Latin Grammys that were just announced a week ago, and it's a ton of music production and engineering students. So it's both of them have their advantages. One of the things, and I'm not sure, maybe some of my colleagues here who are educators and artists would chime in. When you're looking at a program, something to consider is not to look at just the courses and the degree. Take a look at the faculty members. Go to the websites of the departments, look at who's teaching, and look at their background. One of the things that I found is that actually the whole reason why I ended up going to study at Berklee is because I wanted to study with one person. Because this person was an incredible trombonist. I wanted to study trombone with this person, writer and arranger. And those were the things at the time that I really wanted to dig into. And ever since then, it's always been seeking out that sort of guru and then doing the program that they taught within. And at Selkirk, you can see there's a number of, incredible faculty members that are artists here. Those would be to be able to hang with Mike Rudd and work with him on improvisation technique, playing in those styles would be a dream. And then building on that as you go further on in your career, to be seeking out those gurus all the way up to the point of talking to somebody like Britt to try to get into the Global Jazz Masters program, which is, if you get accepted to that program, it's completely paid for. It's 20 students and everything's paid for. And you're studying with Danilo Perez, with John Patitucci, and Joe Lovano and Terry Lynn Carrington. It's pretty sweet. So think of it from that point of view when you're looking at CWP and MP&E, whether it's production and engineering or contemporary writing production. Who are the teachers? What have they done? Because what you're trying to do is, after class, you kind of want to be a fly on the wall for their sessions. You want to be their assistant. You want to be in the studio working with them. So those are things that you should definitely be digging into. Ray dropped another question here from AJ.
Probably one I can answer.
Yeah, please go for it. Yep.
AJ, so good to see you here, bud. It's been, AJ was part of our ensemble last year that I was just talking about a little while ago, where we were hanging with Mike and doing some gypsy jazz. So yes, the answer is that majors don't transfer to Berklee, courses transfer to Berklee. And I'll let, if Jason or anybody else wants to chime in on that, they can. So if you're a production major at Selkirk or a composition major, it's not the entire major that transfers over. They're looking for a quantity of courses. And one of the things that I would bring up here is that you're able to transfer, I think it's up to 60 credits. Is that right, Jason?
That is correct. And I think I'm just looking at the Selkirk page to see how many credits you have.
I think it's about 45 or something like that.
Right.
So one thing that is really to your advantage is if you can take your non-music electives here or not down at Berklee and try to get up so that you can get your credit load up to 60 so you can transfer as many of those types of courses as possible. We found that the best path for students transferring and the most flexible, I think, is into the professional music program. Jason, I think that was the one at the bottom right when we saw it on the
Britt's
diagram
grid.
there. Yeah, exactly. So that would be something to consider for sure, is transferring into the professional music program where you can kind of build your own major there. But again, it's courses and not specific majors that transfer.
Yeah, it's really key to complete the block that we've designed. This is something that we've curated with Don and the team at Selkirk. And when you're getting into your last semester, actually even your last 2 semesters at Selkirk, this is the best time to reach out to Britt and her team, and even to Ray and I in Global Initiatives. We can help as well, advising on the next step. So professional music is definitely, in performance would be easy majors to transfer into. But if you're looking at film scoring, music therapy, or music production engineering, we can actually connect you with, yeah, and Britt's dropped that email in there. We can connect you with the department chairs at Berklee. They're really happy to speak with you as a global partners transfer student and to begin exploring what the next step would be for you and to make sure that everything can align really nicely. And as Don said, it can be really seamless when you transfer. One of the things that we didn't mention here that's, I think, critical to know is students that come from our global partners programs, they tend to be among the most successful students at Berklee. They graduate at over 70% within the typical undergraduate span, which is like, 8 to 9, even 10 semesters, depending on the major that you pick. And their grade point averages are among the top at Berklee. They're very, very highly prepared. They're excellent students, and again, very successful. So the design of the curriculum is in the way it's been mapped out is to your benefit. We want to see you be successful. We are your biggest fans. We want to see you accomplish your goals as artists. So other questions? We've got anything else in here? Dave has dropped in a note.
Might I just piggyback off of what you were mentioning about the timeline for Berklee students?
Yes.
Is that this also kind of aligns with the question of being a non-traditional student. When you're at Berklee, we actually don't go by freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. It's very common to hear a student say, oh, I'm a 5th semester student, or I'm an 8th semester student. It means that through their time at Berklee, everybody's on a different path. So we break it down by semester because, like Jason said, depending on your major, depending if you add a double major or a minor, you might be spending more time than the traditional 4 years. So we kind of break down that boundary of year to semester to completing your time. So when you come in, though you'll have about a year, maybe a year and a half of curriculum, you're really starting fresh to kind of propel into your future career semester by semester. So knowing that with the credit load, if you have, one major, that's going to be 159, I think, credits by graduation. But if you add a minor, you're adding more credits on. So you're going to maybe tack on another semester. And the same goes for with a professional music major. That is designed so that you finish still in like a 4-year timeline, so that you can choose all of the different interests that you have, but still graduate in like a 4-year timeline. So just something to think about as you think about all of the options.
Very cool. Britt, there's another question here about housing. Are you able to talk about that at Berklee?
Yeah, so
it has to do with what are the housing options for students? Is it dedicated housing and then off-campus housing? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's not required to live on campus at all. It is very popular. Students, typically we go to a wait list because we have so much interest in housing. And we have the 4 different residence halls. The 2 most popular, like I mentioned, are 150 Massachusetts Avenue and 160 Massachusetts Ave. We call it Mass Ave for short. And the other 2 are more like apartment style. Plus, Boston Conservatory has their own housing, but we're all kind of in the same community bubble, really like no bigger than a mile and a half from one point to the other. So students can easily walk to classes. We have usually doubles, triples, and singles, but now because of COVID, we've limited it down to just doubles and singles. We do have the living and learning community floors, which mean that depending if you would like to live on a living and learning community floor, you can have access to tutoring. We have dry floors, which is substance-free, alcohol-free floor. We have a lens floor, which means that it's a first year kind of adaptive access to learning about Boston, learning about your first year at Berklee, and being among other students that it's their first year with Berklee as well, and others included. So if you are interested in one of those, once students apply for housing, you have an option or opportunity to take a housing survey, and then we try to fit you with a roommate and a space that is going to suit your living style the best. So with COVID, I know that we're trying to kind of limit the amount of of rooms that we have of students in a room. We also have our own building now for quarantine. So should students test positive, or even just as we temp check everybody at the entrance of each building, we have a quarantine space for those students. So I think, you know, this has been an opportunity for us to really reflect on the future of our education and how we house our students. So moving forward, should everything go well, I think we'll continue to open up and see triples again, but not for a while. If there was a specific question about, you know, finding housing off campus, basically that's up to you. Some students will just search. There's a couple different websites. So Zillow.com, Trulia.com, Hotpads.com. Those are great ways to find different sources for off-campus housing. But we also have some options for realtors in the area that you can work with to find off-campus housing. The cost for living off campus is almost comparable to what it is to live on campus, though I will admit it's a little bit more expensive to live on because you're equipped with a full dining hall plan, and you do have the option to remove that years after, but we do give that to you just to start. But buying your own groceries, you kind of have to balance out. The Back Bay area specifically is pretty high in terms of rent, but students might move further off campus once they get comfortable being in Boston, and then might find something in one of our immediate sub-cities that is a little bit more affordable. To name a few, just Somerville, Cambridge, Brookline. I can't even think of others. Dorchester is pretty far.
Yeah, we have an external facility over in Alston, a practice space, and a lot of we actually procured it because a lot of students are moving to Alston Brighton, which is kind of close to Boston College and the far side of Boston University, and there's a space so you don't have to trek all the way back into campus to practice. You can just go and use that facility. There's internet access. There's ensemble rooms, practice rooms, and it makes it a lot more convenient for students. You know, from taking the metro line, it's like about 20, depending, 30 minutes back and forth between that neighborhood. So yeah, that's great. And one of the cool things, of course, about living on campus is you can literally fall out of bed, get some food, go and practice, go to class. It's really, really easy to do. Let's see, there are a few more questions that dropped in here. One question I saw was a difference. Stephen Shen asked about studying both film scoring and music production and which to start with first. And Stephen, if I can just ask, are you a student currently at Selkirk?
Yes.
You are? Cool. And are you focusing in a composition or arranging major right now, or music technology major?
I'm only a first year student.
Cool. So this is a great time for you to connect in with your advisors as you make your plan, because you could actually front load some of the work that you would have to do in coming to Berklee, especially with arranging, orchestration classes, some of the technology classes that John's area delivers. So I would look at that. And then when you're coming to Berklee, when you're planning to transfer, that last semester is when we're going to want to do two things. We're going to want to connect you with Sean McMahon, the chair of film scoring, and with either Rob Jasko or Dan Thompson in music production and engineering at Berklee. For MP&E, you're going to have to apply. So as you're going through the admissions application process with Britt, you're going to want to be applying for music production and engineering at Berklee, and they do allow you to apply as a student coming in from a partner school. If you meet certain criteria, they're going to want to talk with you first, see where you are, and then give you some advising. And then if so, they can have you apply. And then for film scoring, you're probably going to, when you arrive in Boston, you'll probably start doing film scoring classes right away. Introduction to film scoring, and then some of the other technology-based prerequisites or arranging or orchestration prerequisites. So that way, when you land, you're kind of moving forward. And then as you get into your second semester at Berklee, you're probably going to be much deeper into all of those classes, especially if you get accepted into MP&E, which you have to get accepted in order to be in the program. So you probably, I would say, be starting on film scoring a little bit ahead of the MP&E classes, and then there'll be some classes that might overlap. You will be very busy, and you'll need to be planning to be at Berklee a little bit longer because those are two of the most dense majors um, at Berklee. You know, film scoring, that's a ton. MP&E, that's a ton. So you put them together, you will be very highly skilled. Um, you'll probably have really nice bags under your eyes from being up all night in the recording studios and the film scoring studios. But I would say if you could do it, that would be incredible. Totally worth, you know, spending the time to do those great majors, great departments, and the alumni from those departments. You know, it's like the who's who list in Los Angeles when you're ready to move out there.
Yeah, I have a great story about an alum that studied film scoring, and his name is Brandon Brown. You might have heard of him. He's got like 40,000 followers on Instagram or something crazy, but he is one of our alum from Scotland, and he helps with the auditions from time to time. And we're sitting there at the check-in table, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I did some ghostwriting for Hans Zimmer for a little while." Just like dropped that casually. And it's so common that you go out to LA and you see a lot of the film scoring majors kind of migrate out there, because it's common to get those kind of opportunities, always connecting, always in the industry.
Yeah, and that's actually something that we didn't talk about in this group. And I know we're getting to the 90-minute mark here, but just something to add to this. The teachers at Selkirk, the teachers at Berklee, your fellow students are going to be part of your network. And so being really mindful of those relationships that you're building with one another as students, but also with these educators and artists is critical. It's really a matter of being open and engaged. And the other thing is looking at internships. We have an incredible career center at Berklee, and it's very common for students in all majors, including performance, believe it or not, to look at their break semesters as opportunities to go and do an internship, whether it's in the Boston area, New York. You could go back, you go up to Toronto. If you're in Canada, Vancouver, out to Seattle, obviously Los Angeles, Nashville, Atlanta, Miami. There's plenty of opportunities for you to take what you've learned in class and apply it. Go and see how it actually is working, and that's just going to inform, the kinds of work that you're doing as a student, but also the direction you're going to go forward with your career. So things to consider. Another question: we have multiple instruments at Berklee. It is possible to do a secondary instrument. And that's all dependent upon a couple of things. It's obviously how well you're doing on your principal instrument, and then meeting with those other departments. There's a couple of ways to do it. You could do a dual principal, or there's actually courses in the other areas. Like as a trombonist, I actually took hand percussion. So you could do Afro-Cuban hand percussion for the non-percussionist. You can do drum set. You could, a lot of times vocalists will do piano or guitar, or vice versa. If you're a guitarist or pianist and you're a singer songwriter, you might end up doing voice. So as you go through the process, it's a matter of meeting with the department chairs and having them evaluate you and see what's the right option for you. If it's just taking elective courses, or if it's actually dedicating a full track of your time. Again, the more work you take on, the more credits you have to take. The more credits you take, the longer your time is going to be, and the longer your time it's going to be more tuition costs, more housing costs. So we're really, really mindful of that, AJ, as you're looking into those things. And we have a question, how to access the recording of this session. Ray, or I guess we'll end up publishing this, if Ray's still here. I think his power went out.
I'm here.
You are. We'll get this published on our website, right?
Yes, sir.
Cool.
We'll share the link.
Great. We'll drop the link in here.
Jason, there was a question back a little while ago too about some residents in Nelson, and I maybe just address that one really quickly.
Excellent.
I'm going to go here. I'm just going to go to our website and just show you. There is indeed a residence at 10th Street campus in Nelson. While the main campus for Selkirk College is in Castlegar, which is about a 30-minute drive away, our campus is in Nelson. And this building right here that you're seeing is just steps away from where you'd be taking classes. It's actually in the basement of this building where you would find our major studio, Shambhala Performance Hall. And it's a lovely facility within fair walking distance to shopping, probably 15 minutes of walk. But many of our students stay up here. There's a fair number too that find houses and apartments and stuff like that. But we do find that many of the students are tending to go into residence these days.
Very nice. It's got to be gorgeous there. I've really got to get up and visit all of you. We've got to figure that out. We were threatening to do it this year before COVID knocked out all of our travel. So we'll put it high on the list as we go forward. Let's see. We have another question about doing studies at Selkirk in a different major, Berklee, and obviously our programs are similar, but they're different in the focuses of the major. So whatever major you focus on at Selkirk, when you come to Berklee, you don't have to do the same thing. You can obviously select something different. And that's all part of the advising process and your research again. So yeah, we got to totally play some music. We got to get that happening and make a road trip up to Nelson. I think what I'd like to do here is turn it over to Britt and Dawn to share any wrap-up thoughts and any links or notes for communication going forward, and then we'll wrap up the session for today because I'm just mindful of everybody's time. Dawn, thoughts from your side at Selkirk? Anything that you want to say as we close things out this afternoon?
Yeah, a couple of things that you talked about there, and I think one of them is that what Berklee affords students, and that is opportunity. I know that for a number of the students that are graduates of the program that have gone into Berklee, a couple specifically, one of them went off to LA, where I know that she mentored with a very famous composer and worked for many years. Another one up to Toronto did exactly the same thing. And those were all made possible by the Berklee. I'm not sure what that plan is, but through your various business partners. And I find that that is something that is very rare out there in the music industry or in the music education industry, that you guys have forged some deep relationships with business and other arts organizations. And that I think that's a real strength of the program. And like we said from the onset, for those people that are mindful of the cost of going to a private school, that starting for 2 years at Selkirk, it's one of the cheapest schools anywhere on the planet, I think. And then following that up with Berklee, we're going to hold your hand. We're going to see you in the hallways every day. We're going to strike up some really meaningful relationship with students. And that's really just going to set the tone for you moving on to the bigger school. And I think it's a great way to go.
Thank you, Don. And Britt, your thoughts here as we're wrapping things up.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's that, and sometimes students feel that this is not common, that this is like, oh, I just want to start directly at Berklee. I have a lot of those conversations, and, we wouldn't promote this kind of pathway if we didn't feel that it was a viable option. And I really stick to what I was mentioning earlier, that seeing Berklee as the end game versus straight out the gate is just smart. It's super common. Our community is one that has students starting from various levels that, maybe students have only spent 2 years at Berklee, but leaving Berklee feeling like they've gotten a whole network of people. When you meet one person, you meet like 15 people, and you get all of the resources and the collaborative aspects that you need to have those transferable skills into your career. So reach out to us when you have questions. That's why we're here. I'll drop again, just so it's fresh in the chat, the email for your counselor at Berklee. This is a round robin of counselors, from international to domestic counselors. So I myself work with Canadian students on the more west coast of Canada. And then I do have a colleague, Mike Gamble, that works with students on more of the East Coast. So that split in the middle, happy to be a resource. Yeah, let's get the conversation started.
Excellent. And just one last question, because we get Sean as an alum at Selkirk, and we're going to sneak one last question in here under the wire. Sean, what's your question? Sean, you're muted. Do you want to unmute and ask your question? There you are. I see your hand, but you might have to type it, my friend. We're not able to hear you. All right, Sean.
While he's typing, can I just add something?
Please.
Well, when I was visiting Berklee summer of 2018 for the Global Summit, I felt like I wanted to take a year sabbatical and go and study there. And just to me, the compliment of this small little community here in our tiny school, and then huge Berklee community and the kind of contacts anyone could make there. Can you refresh our memories? How many students are in the program on the Boston campus? Because I don't think we've mentioned that number.
It's about
in a typical year.
5,000.
Pardon?
It's about 5,000. That's predominantly undergrad.
And those are music students. That's not like any
That's
other
just
program.
students.
Yeah.
Music students.
It's
one
not
of the
including
largest.
staff and faculty, and you'd add another 1,000 people onto that.
What an opportunity to meet that many people with the same interests.
Yeah, it's musical saturation. It's pretty incredible. It's one of those things where there's so much going on that it's drinking from a fire hose, a musical fire hose, which is amazing because it's that moment, where you will learn so much. You'll build so many great friendships and relationships. Get to work with great visiting artists, and experience lots of things that will carry you forward. And this is the goal, because we want our graduates to make an impact globally, and we've seen it happen. It's a wonderful thing, and they really they maintain that bond, with Berklee and with the larger music community. So
And not only that, but we are, I think, 43% international community as well. So we have an entirely diverse population from students all over the world that bring their own styles and influences to ensembles and lessons, and really influence how we operate at Berklee is stylistically. And that's just something that most schools have a problem with, is the balance and diversity among the student body. And Berklee just doesn't have that problem, which we're super grateful for. I think it's one of the big highlights of our student body and community.
that's actually a fantastic thing to point out, Britt. It's very common that when you walk into a classroom, you will have people from literally all over the planet, and that's where it again, it's the career that you have may not be where you think it is going to be. It could be anywhere in the world, and that's something that we hope you'll thrive in. Sean's question was about wanting to continue through Berklee online, and Sean, you and I can connect offline, but what I'd like to do is I'm just dropping in the link for Berklee Online here. You can take a look at the degree programs there, or their certificates. It depends on which track you're going, or if you want to do a graduate degree. And what I can do is connect you with the advisors over at Berklee Online, and they can walk you forward to the opportunities that are available there. On that note, it's been fantastic. I want to thank Dawn, Melody, John, Mike, and Stephen Parrish, and the rest of the team, Laura, and everybody at Selkirk for being open to having this event, for Britt for being here from the admissions team, and Ray for putting this all together. This has been really fantastic. This is a lot of great content. We are recording the session, so we are going to deliver it online, and you'll be able to go back and check it out. Obviously, share it with your colleagues, your friends that missed the session. And what I'd like to do is just invite you. I think Ray and I we've got another 5 sessions this week on varying topics. We're not just doing information sessions and discussions like this, but we're doing sessions with all of our different global partners on different musical topics and things like that. So what you can do is you can actually go to linktr.ee/BerkleeGlobal, and all the registrations and details are there. Obviously, you can follow us on social media. It's at Berklee Global, and that's for Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And check these out. There's a lot of going on. We've got one on Thursday this week for those of you that love Stevie Wonder. Our professor, Rick McLaughlin, who's an incredible bassist, he teaches a class at Berklee called The Music of Stevie Wonder. So he's going to do a power session on his class, and you're going to want to check this out. It is a trip. It's music nerddom for Stevie Wonder, and you're going to love getting into this. He's a master at this, it'll be a total joy. So go to Linktree, check out the upcoming sessions. Feel free to register. We'd love to see you at these. I know that we're going to be back working with Dawn and team here to do some remote master classes as well. And we look forward to seeing you. Please stay healthy, stay safe, stay connected, keep being creative, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Big thank you to
Thank
you,
you.
Jason.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.